Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So the Minnesota Department of Human Rights released the findings of a nearly 2-year investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department. This was started following the death of George Floyd. And they reviewed a trove of data and documents. This dated all the way back, the documents did, to 2010. It included police stops, searches, arrests, use of force, policies, procedures, training, interviews, and ride-alongs, they said. What they discovered is that officers used more severe force and more often in interactions that they had with Black citizens than in their interactions with white individuals. And this was under similar circumstances. The group also determined that although Black citizens make up only approximately 19% of the population in the state, 63% of the police's use of force incidents involved Black people. So they were using force in the majority, vast majority of their interactions with Black people, even though they make up a very small percentage of the population. In addition, they found that Black and Indigenous people were more likely to be stopped by the police and that they were treated differently during those stops as compared to white people who were also pulled over. I mean, we've seen this over and over again, right? We see this in every state. And the human rights group also reported that Minnesota officers, quote, use covert social media to target Black leaders, Black organizations, and elected officials without a public safety objective. And the report states that, quote, some MPD officers and supervisors use racist, misogynistic, and disrespectful language. They added that, quote, according to body-worn camera footage, discipline records, statements from community members, and interviews with MPD officers themselves, some MPD officers and supervisors use racial slurs. They call Black individuals the N-word and monkeys, and they call Black women Black B words. They also said that Minneapolis officers say that their colleagues have referred to their fellow Black officers using racial slurs, and they also call them, quote, cattle. The human rights report determined that, quote, officers are not held accountable because of ineffective accountability and oversight systems, which contribute to a pattern of a discriminatory policing, and that their data, quote, demonstrates significant racial disparities with respect to officers' use of force, traffic stops, searches, citations, and arrests. The investigators concluded that, quote, this pattern or practice of race-based policing is caused by MPD's ineffective oversight and accountability structures and ineffective trainings that reinforce a culture that is averse to accountability and not supportive for officers. I mean, let's keep it real. Is anyone really shocked at hearing this? Disturbed, perhaps, disgusted, horrified, but we all know that this is what goes on. How many reports are we going to have like this before we just admit that this is widespread, this is everywhere? But yet you have people out there. I had a friend years ago that told me, oh, racism doesn't exist anymore. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Seriously, this is like the old saying about priests and pedophiles, right? Priests don't become pedophiles. Pedophiles become priests because they know it will give them better access to their victims. Cops don't become violent racists. They're not on the job and all of a sudden they become these violent racists. Violent racists become cops because they know it will give them unrestricted access to their victims. And they know that given our ridiculous qualified immunity laws, they can act on their fear and their bigoted hate with almost complete impunity. There has to be a better system in place to weed out these racist sociopaths, these giant toddlers with small penis syndrome. You know, I have a friend, a very good friend. She was actually my maid of honor. Her husband is an officer in Tennessee. He's a Black man. And, you can imagine she's told me stories about the things that he's heard and he's seen. But as we see with this report, the Black officers are targeted themselves. So they're reluctant, they're reticent to speak out and to try to do something, because then they're going to be targeted even more. I don't know what the answer is, but all these people whining, clutching their pearls about defund the police. Well, you know what? Step up, do something to change the system. And maybe nobody would want to defund the police. Just saying. Anyway, guys, I'll let you know if I hear any more about this. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.